So I am very much still in the stage of like, mommy, I need everything done for me. And so I look forward to the teen years when they can actually do things for themselves.
Oh, I can imagine.
Don't need help from mom, or like I can sleep in with them.
Listen, let me tell you something. I don't know, Joe, because you have this really warm and calming energy. So if you were my mom, I would probably want you to do everything for me as well. So I probably, Mama, I can't do it. Can you do it for me?
Oh, is that the
I don't know. I think those kids are on to something. All right. They sound smart.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome to Unapologetically Anxious Me, Confessions of a Haitian Girl, the podcast where I blend life, love, sex, and relationships with mental health, social issues, and history, all from my very unabashed perspective. Join me, Joe Ciceron, as we unravel the power of vulnerability, celebrate storytelling, our history, and connect with incredible individuals who have tales to share. Let's dive deep into our essence and the narratives that mold us, because in this space, we believe in the magic of authenticity and the beauty of being unapologetically you.
Welcome to another episode of Unapologetically Anxious Me, Confessions of a Haitian Girl. I'm your host, Joe, and today we're diving deep into the world of Throuple Truths, the series that I have been doing over the past few months. And this is actually our last and final episode, but I am so excited about the guest we have today. Now, you know, we will only be bringing you the best, and today is no exception. Our guest today is a powerhouse in the world of therapy and relationships. She's not just any therapist. She is a celebrated expert who's been helping couples and throuples navigate the complexities of their relationships with grace and wisdom. You've seen her on Peacock TV's hit reality show, Couple to Throuple, where she serves as the co-host and resident therapist, guiding participants through their emotional journeys and helping them find balance and harmony. She's a renowned therapist, an eloquent speaker, and a passionate advocate for mental health. With a deep understanding of the cultural nuances that shape our relationships, she's been a beacon of hope and healing for so many. Her work has been instrumental in breaking down stereotypes and fostering a greater understanding of non-traditional relationship structures. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute honor to welcome to the show the incredible and inspiring Dr. Shamyra Howard. Sound effects.
First of all, Joe, that intro, come on. Let me have that. I need that everywhere. See what I mean about that warm and inviting energy? See what I'm saying?
I'm just excited to have you on the show. You were definitely one of the first ones I wanted to get on. It's kind of cool that I'm closing out the series with you because, of course, I've had a lot of the contestants, a lot of the castmates, some singles and couples, throuples, Wilder and Denise and Corey. I always forget her name because I remember her handle, which is Foxy Spirit. So I'm like, it's not her name.
You was gonna call her Foxy. I've called the Foxy before.
I know. I'm like, Foxy is not her name. But I've had them all on the show, and they've all been such amazing guests. But to get your perspective is something that I really, really wanted to have on the show, because I think that you would really just bring it all to like one amazing like closing perspective, because you really get to see this on a more broader scale. You get to see it in the real world. And for sure, you really do understand how the throuple really is the most complex of the polyamory relationships. What do you say to people who believe that a throuple is not really possible? Like the concept of throupleism, and I'm pretty sure I just made that up if I did.
Love the word. We're going to go with throupleism.
What do you say to people who just doesn't believe that that is a realistic form of a relationship?
there are lots of people who don't believe in non-monogamy or polyamory. So I say to them the same thing. I mean, here we are in 2024, and what we know about non-monogamy is 1 in 8 people, Americans, have engaged in some type of non-monogamy in their lives, with 1 in 3 saying that their ideal relationship would include some type of non-monogamy. So I would say somebody needs to get some more information. So what we know about throuples is that it falls under the non-monogamy umbrella, which falls under the umbrella of polyamory, which means many love. And so a throuple is just another dynamic in polyamory that has a history of not being as popular, because a lot of people see throuples as a couple who just wants to have sex with another person, specifically a woman. And if we're talking about consensual, or what we like to call ethical non-monogamy, that's not the case at all. So for people who have an issue with the concept or the idea of a throuple, I just like to give them the facts. Because I mean, we could talk about how you feel, and then we could talk about facts. We know that feelings aren't facts. They are not facts.
So how did you find yourself, especially being a Black woman in this space? Like, how did you find yourself in this polyamorous world, especially being a therapist and being an expert in this space?
Well, you said it. There aren't many of us in this space. There aren't many Black therapists, first of all. So I am, of course, I have a doctorate in social work, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And through that, I was able to become a sexologist and a certified sex therapist. So in my private practice, I specialize in sex and relationship therapy. So basically, I see a lot of people in non-traditional relationships. So I see those of us who are swingers, those of us who are in polyamorous and other non-monogamous relationships, and all different types of BDSM and kinky relationships. So I see, and I am trained in these areas where a lot of us aren't trained in. A lot of us think that it's taboo, and I'm just drawn to it. It's where a lot of my energy goes. And like you said, there aren't a lot of us in here. So I just basically went with the research. And so I'm a research person through and through. I love data. And so when I was reaching out to people, a lot of people who look like me weren't reaching back out. So I say, you know what? I'm going to have to be that one. And so I basically delved into it. I got the education, continuing to get the education, and I built up trust in the communities in which I serve, locally and globally as well. And so we've been rocking and rolling ever since.
Do you work with a lot of people that look like us?
I do. I will tell you this. When I first opened my practice 8 years ago, maybe 8-9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. What is 2024? But when I first opened my practice was 80% white. And then 2 years later, my practice became 90% Black.
Wow.
Within 2 years. And again, that's a testament to how many of us are not doing this work. A lot of people are not specializing in sexuality in their practices because it's very taboo. And a lot of people are like, I'm not talking to nobody about their sex life. I don't even talk about my own sex life. And that's why I'm like, that's where, it's another part of the use your mouth movement that I'm like, you got to use your mouth. You got to teach other people how to use their mouth as well. But I see 90% Black people in my practice.
Wow.
Yes, that is amazing to me.
That's really shocking, especially as someone who has also been in the lifestyle and in polyamory. I have definitely heard that this is a space that's predominantly just for white people. It's a white people thing. And, I have always wanted to see other people who look like myself and who are also in this space. And I, of course, live in the Midwest, so that's definitely saturated with predominantly white people. So you don't see a lot of other people who look like you. So I think that it's nice to see somebody who is a Black woman in this space, who is well educated, who is also, leading that educational space and giving us hope that there is, other people who are living and also very successful in this area as well. So being in the show itself, having gone to the couple to throuple like world, how did that come about? Like, where did that start for you? And like, what was that journey like from beginning to end?
The couple to throuple world was a world. Okay. It was a world that I'm very proud of. I must say that, in this space, I've been approached several times to do various different shows and concepts around polyamory, to which I've declined specifically because I do this for real. You know what I mean? When I say I do this for real, I see people who live lifestyles that we were representing. And so I had to make sure, that I show up in the way that is authentic to how I practice, to how I live, because it's not very different. I'm Shamyra in my office and I'm Shamyra outside of my office. And so when I was presented with the opportunity to be a part of this project, I made that very clear that I was not looking to be a part of anything that wanted to exploit polyamory or exploit the communities, because I do believe in the educational piece in everything that I do, because I think, especially when it comes to sex education, I think sex education saves lives and relationships. And so that's my message. And I had to be connected to something of the sort. And I was assured that, Shamyra, I promise you, we do not want to make a mockery of this. We really want to do a good job with this. We really want to highlight this in a certain way. And most importantly, we want your input in doing so, because we realize that we might not have all of the moving parts that we need. And so I worked really closely with producers, the showrunners, who I really enjoyed them. I really love them. They're brilliant. Katie Fox, Matt Cox, James LaSalle, Brian, everybody, producers, the network. And so everybody was great and they kept their word, and it turned out to be great. Something that I'm very proud of.
Amazing. And so actually being on the set and working with these couples, was it difficult to see them go through the process, and like, especially if you knew that they were maybe not right for a situation? Like, was it difficult to hold back or to, not have to like guide them in the right direction when you knew they were making a mistake?
So that is a great question, Joe, because,
especially being an expert,
being in the space where I am, a lot of people think that as a therapist, we tell people what to do. Right. And so what my motto is, and in different modalities that I'm trained in, I like to follow the tail of the comet. And while I was there to help, my role there for the couples and the singles on the show was to help bridge that gap between, bridge the educational and emotional gap between monogamy and non-monogamy. And so what I knew was that I was dealing with some couples who had not experienced non-monogamy before. And I had an idea that this was going to be challenging for them. As you saw, we had all of these challenges set up. So I knew that the challenges were going to challenge them, right? They're the challenges challenged. And so I knew that there would be some challenges for them, as well as the singles, because this was new territory for them. Many of the singles, however, they had experiences in non-monogamy. So it was challenging for them in a different way. But for the couples, I knew that this was going to be challenging. And so I wanted to be there to support them. I wanted to be there to help guide them, and basically to help them feel what they were going through without judging themselves or each other, which you probably saw that they did it anyway.
Yeah. In the process, we noticed that, of course, the couples were not experienced and the singles were actually, was there a reason for that? Or did you want them to be like, why wasn't it even on both sides? Or was there a
That's a good question. So here's what happens. There is this term in polyamory called unicorn hunting, right? So it's basically when a non-monogamous couple specifically looks for a woman just to have sex with them. And some people are like, that's what throuples are. That's what y'all did on Couple to Throuple.
And that was a lot of the
and so it actually isn't, because what we did, the singles, they knew what they were. They knew that this was a show for them to throuple up or to join a relationship with a couple. So it was great that the singles had experience so that they understood that this wasn't more of a unicorn hunting thing, because unicorn hunting is specifically for sex. This show was about relationships, and that's what throuples are about. It's about seeing each other and holding each other as priority in a mutual relationship. Mm-hmm. And so it was important. It was great that the singles had experience in non-monogamy, so that this didn't feel like, oh, we're just recruiting people for sex. We just want these people who just really want to come down and they really just want to get it on with us. And so while that was actually, a lot of that was shown in the show, it was way more than a sexual relationship. And it was way more than the couples just finding somebody to join them for sex. Because we could have did a sex show. It would have been all the things, all the rates. Just let's line people up just to have sex with couples. But this was actually about couples who were testing their own limits, the limits of their relationship, to see, maybe there's something missing. Maybe our desires are a little bit more than what we have now. Let's experiment. So this show was an experiment for relationships, for us to test our relationship to see is the thing we're missing another partner.
The story was more focused on the couple versus we didn't get a whole lot about the singles. And that was something that I realized, especially as I interviewed a lot of the castmates. I really loved getting to know a lot of the singles because
I know. Oh my goodness.
Amazing.
So, I would have been great to have another perspective from the singles. And let me tell you something. Scott had mentioned,
educated people. Yeah.
Yeah. Scott had mentioned that, maybe that's something that could be explored in another realm where there's a singles house and we can see what's going on with the singles. And there's another story with the singles. As it relates to the show, the concept was about couples, right? So that's the show is called Couple to Throuple, right? So, the concept was about bringing a couple, two people, to a space where there are now three people. So the premise was, let's follow the relationship of this couple to see what the process of them throupling up would look like, so that people who are watching, who might be a couple, who are considering opening up their relationship together and dating someone together or beginning a relationship with someone together, what some of those challenges could look like. Now, I do get it that people wanted to see more of the singles perspective. However, let's not forget that this show was specifically centered around the couple experience.
I understand. Okay. What do you think could be done differently from next season? If there is a next season, is there a next season?
So, let me tell you this. I wrote this on Twitter the other day because people tag us on Twitter all the time or send us messages about, is there another season? Is there? And people are watching the show again. And so I'm like, who's still watching Couple to Throuple? And so I actually went back to watch it again. So I'm still sitting in the throes of season one, because if you remember the show, it did not release like how other reality shows release. In the spirit of Throuples, the show released 3 episodes at once, at a time, instead of releasing all 10. And then it released the finale. And so I think it's, watching all of those in 3, that meant that everybody didn't get all of the episodes at the same time. So currently there are still people who are just seeing the show in certain parts of the world for the first time. So some people are still getting caught up on season 1. So I'm like, let us sit in season 1 and see what people are saying, which, a lot of the commentary is similar to what people who watched it when it first released was saying. I love to see the progression of comments in how people start the show, and then when they get to the third episode versus the sixth and then the eighth, and how their perspectives change. Because when people first saw it, they were like, oh, this is wild. What is this? I love it. I got to tune in. And some people were like, oh, no, I'm not. And then it started progressing to, oh, I'm going to ask my partner this. Oh, I want to try this. Right.
Yeah.
And so I love that. I love that because that's my whole goal, is to have people starting the conversation. I tell people all the time, Couple to Throuple is not a documentary on polyamory or throuples. Couple to Throuple is a relationship conversation starter. So this is what, regardless of what your relationship style is, Couple to Throuple is there to help you even question, what are you doing in your relationship? Is there something, and it might not be throupledom, but is there something that you might want to test out, like a new sex toy, a new erotic book, a new sex vacation? As it relates to going further, or what I would have liked to see, there are some things that happen that you all didn't get to see that would have been great. Like my interaction with the throuples and the singles. And so how I met with some of them, one-on-one, and what we talked about. And you didn't see that directly, but a lot of that did play out in the show and how they grew from it. Also, Scott as a host blew everybody away. Like, Scott was so great to work with. I have never worked with somebody who was as endearing as he was, and who was just like I call him my side to side person.
Yeah.
Because it was like, he was the host of the show, but Scott used to grab me, come on, it's time to go. Like he was just amazing. So I would have liked for people to see more of his personality, even though you couldn't miss his personality, but he was really a beacon for everyone on the show. Like, people, whenever he would come up, people were like, okay, there goes Scott. You know, Scott was going to serve a look and a word every time he came up. So I would have liked for people to see more of how funny he was and how he interacted with the cast.
That's incredible. What did it mean to you as a Black woman to be leading this show with Scott? And especially this is a show that is one of a kind, first of its kind.
It's a one of one, and we were a one of one duo. There is no other shows like us. Yeah. So let me tell you, when I found out who the host of the show was, I was like, we look alike. Like, we are two brown Black people with locks. What is going to happen? Like, what is going to happen? Like, what's going on? But I loved it. Like, the show, when I say that there's no other show like this, I don't mean just because of the content. I mean the diversity, the sexualities that are represented, the lifestyles that are represented, the races that are represented, the age differences that are represented. And then you have two Black hosts that are front facing on the show. Where is the award? Like, where, because I mean, like we did the show, we were doing the show, we're great. But to also have other people see that and acknowledge that. Yeah. And like, wait a minute, these are two Black people. Wait a minute, we got a Black. And people like Shamyra isn't just a Black sex expert because she deemed herself that, because she talks about sex, or she's not a Black relationship expert because she talks about relationship, but she's actually got the credentials, right? And Scott isn't just a host because they were like, okay, you look like you would be a good host, but he actually has the credentials and the experience. So that was amazing for us to have been chosen. I think it was just, however it ended up with us being the hosts, I think that's how it should have been.
Absolutely. And I think it was revolutionary, and I absolutely loved seeing it. And that was one of the major draws for me for seeing the show. And I absolutely thank you both for just taking that on and being part of it. It was incredible. From a mental health perspective, what do you think is just one of the first things that, or what is the, I guess, the recipe that all couples need to have, or people individually need to have in mind when they are thinking about going into a non-monogamous situation?
That's a great question. Joe, let me tell you something. You have all the good questions. I want to tell you that. First of all, I want to say, from a mental wellness perspective, and just from a perspective in general, what all relationships need to have, whether you're thinking about entering some type of non-monogamous structure or not, you need to have clear goals on your relationship, right? So you need to create a relationship that you can be proud of. So how do you do that? You ask and you sit down with your partner and you use your mouth. That's why I created these products that I created about use your mouth, because couples and people in relationship, they don't talk enough to each other about the dynamics of the relationship. And so a lot of issues can be lessened if people talked more about their relationships and they had a clear goal on their relationship. So basically, ask yourself this question: how could I create a relationship that I would be proud of? What does a relationship look like for me that I would be proud of? Like that I would be proud to just go on a reality TV show and show everybody that this is our relationship. I'm proud of this, right? And I think it includes there's recipes that goes into it. Like you have to have boundaries. You have to have opportunities for growth. You have to have intimacy check-ins where you're talking about, what does intimacy outside of the bedroom look like? What are your true sexual values? What are your true relational values? And we have to take inventory of this at least monthly. However, if there's some type of relationship injury, I always tell people that you have to talk about it more, which is you have to do weekly check-ins like I talk about in the Use Your Mouth book, but you have to inventory your relationship monthly. Look, Monday. Is that a Freudian slip? Every Monday, inventory your relationship. That would be great. But, Joe, people often say, well, that sounds much like a business. It's your business.
Yeah.
It's your business. Your relationship is your business.
Yeah.
You do want to treat it like a business. You want to treat it like something that you value because you take care of the things you value and they appreciate. And so you want to do things that make your relationship appreciate. And that goes for any relationship, and especially if you want a non-monogamous relationship, because as you saw in Couple to Throuple, a lot of situations that came up were situations that you would want to have figured out before you decide to bring another partner in.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, do I want to see my partner having sex with somebody else? Okay.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here. The very last question I'll ask you, it's the last question I ask everybody who comes on my show. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you right now?
Oh, I'm at an 11.
Oh. Why is
you? I mean, I might have started off at an 8 when I got here. But I mean, this color you have on, your energy, I'm all the way up.
Yeah.
I'm all the way up. Scale of 1 to 10. How happy are you?
Oh, I'm absolutely loving this conversation with you, and I'm really excited that I got to connect with you and close out this series with you. So I will say that I'm at like a 12 right now.
Okay, not you 1 more point ahead of me. I love that for us, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been an absolute joy to connect with you and have this conversation. And I'm just really like so inspired by the work that you do and that you continue to do, the advocacy that you do. And I just was so inspired by the show, and I hope there is a season 2 to come. And if there is any like talk of a reunion, I hope that happens too, because it would be so amazing to see. But I mean, you are just a rock star in itself.
Oh,
and
thank you, Joe.
I love you as a person, and thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. And I'll come back if you need to, if you want to have another conversation.
Absolutely. We'll definitely have to work that out. This has been, again, another episode of Unapologetically Anxious Me, Confessions of a Haitian Girl. Until next time, bye.